everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is the first video of mine that you are seeing. If you are new here, my name is Julia Kelsey. I'm 25 years old. I live in Orlando, Florida, and I have a budgeting and money management coaching business that I originally started over on Instagram, but have brought over to YouTube as well. And this is where I show and share with others that budgeting and money management can be simple and actually enjoyable, and help them get to the place where they're easily accomplishing their financial goals while still being able to live a life that they enjoy. So today's video is going to be another budget recap. A couple videos ago, I did a May budget with me, and I showed you what I expected my May to look like, what I expected my income to be, what I expected my expenses to be, and any financial goals I planned to work towards. And in this video, I'm going to show you what actually happened. So my actual expenses, actual income, and what I actually put towards any of my goals. And as always, I will be sharing my budgeting template today, and if you like this template and think it might work for you, I do sell them individually on my website for just $10, and that includes the budgeting template I'll show you, the sinking fund summary I'll show you, as well as a bunch of other trackers. So if you're interested in that, I will leave the link in the description, and all of these templates are always included in any of my coaching packages as well. And now let's take a look at what actually happened throughout the month of May. So starting with my income like normal, I expected to have about $4,350 come in the month of May, and the actual income was about $4,381. So that is a difference of about $31 of extra income over what I expected, which is great because that will be able to counteract a little bit of overspending I did within my daily spending categories. And then moving on to my expenses, starting with my fixed expenses. So these are the ones that don't really change much month to month. They're the fixed bills that come out on the same day and are usually the same amount. So we'll run through these pretty quickly because a lot of them came out exactly as I expected them to. So the first one is my rent, and that's its normal $15.85. I do live in a luxury building in downtown Orlando, so the price reflects that, and it came out just as I expected. The next one is my car payment, which came out at its normal $303, and then Wi-Fi came out as its normal $35 as I expected. And then I have two gym memberships that came out as normal, $10.60 for my Crunch membership at a Crunch gym, and then I also have an Orange Theory Fitness membership. I just have the basic plan, that's 4 classes a month, and that's $69 and came out as normal. And then the next one is a couple business subscriptions. So this includes a Canvas subscription and then also like my website renewal, and that came out at its normal $59. And then a couple more subscriptions. My Amazon Music came out as its normal $5.65. And then Hulu, which is basically like my cable. I don't have any other like streaming or cable services. I just have the live version of Hulu. So that came out as its normal almost $80. And then iTunes, which is more storage on my phone for like photos and videos and stuff like that. And that is $2.99. And then the next two do fluctuate slightly just because they're based on my usage. However, I do know that they're going to occur every month, and I have a really good estimate of what they're going to be. So I do still consider these fixed expenses. So the first one is utilities, and I expected this to be about $190 in May, and it was actually about $195. So I was a little bit over, but not by much, which is not too bad. And then the next one is insurance. This is mainly my car insurance, and then a little bit of this is renter's insurance as well, and that came out as expected at almost $125. And then moving on to my variable expenses. So these are the ones that do tend to fluctuate a little bit more month to month, and they're the ones that you're going to want to keep the closest eye on because they can accumulate so quickly. So my first one is my eating out category. I do tend to eat out quite a bit, and my budget reflects that. So I normally budget to do $40 per week. So in May, when there was 4 weeks, that would have been a total of $160, and I ended up spending $176. So I was a little bit over budget here, more over budget than I have been pretty much the entire year, but I'm not too concerned about this, and this isn't going to make me change my budgeting plan going forward. There's always going to be off weeks and off months, and this month in particular, I know that I went home and was spending a little bit more money eating out while driving back and forth from Orlando, and it just ended up being about $16 over budget. Totally fine, I'm not going to worry about it, and we'll keep this in mind going into June that I need to maybe keep a closer eye on this category. And then the next one is my auto category. This is mainly gas, but also includes tolls if I have to pay them. And for this category, I have budgeted to do $35 per week, and then I also put another $50 buffer into this category because I knew I was going to be traveling home and would need a bit of extra gas for that trip. And I actually was able to stay right on budget within this category, which is kind of the opposite of the food category. My gas category pretty much this entire year has been a little bit off. I've been struggling to figure out how much to increase my gas budget with prices rising and also with driving more, and it's been kind of a back and forth. So finally I have 1 month, even with the extra driving, that I was right on track and didn't have any overspending. And then the next one is my groceries category. This includes my HelloFresh subscription that I get, and then also just every other week grocery trips to the grocery store to get like Diet Coke and breakfast items and things like that. So I normally budget about $300 a month, and I did that again in May, and this will cover 2 to 3 boxes of HelloFresh. I don't tend to get one every week, about 2 to 3 a month, and then the trips to the grocery store. So I did $300 again and then ended up spending $307. So slightly over budget, but nothing that I'm too concerned about, and I definitely will consider this as being on track. And then finally, my last category is just my miscellaneous category, and this really encompasses everything that doesn't fall within those other three. So just those little purchases that come up throughout the month, and I always do $50 a month in this category. Did that again in May and ended up spending $42. So it's under budget here, and we'll be able to use that $7 that I saved to go towards one of those other categories that I was over in. And then I do have one other line item here, which is my checking account cushion. And this is basically the buffer that I have sitting in my checking account in case bills come out higher than expected, or I have an unexpected expense that I need to have money readily available for. So I have a good buffer going here. So I don't normally budget to put anything towards my checking account cushion. But if I have a couple dollars left over at the end of the month, this is normally where I'll stick it just to make up for any money that I do take out of that cushion. So you can see that actually happened here in May. It looks like I had about $9.84 left over after I had budgeted for everything and accounted for all of my spending. So I just threw that in my checking account cushion, and that will go towards that buffer that I already have going. So in total in May, I expected to have about $3,163 in expenses, and I ended up spending $3,194. So I was slightly over budget by, again, $31, which makes sense since that is exactly the amount of extra income I had coming in, and so those two will balance each other out. And they're exactly the same because I had any dollars that I had left over put towards that checking account cushion. So all my dollars have been put somewhere. And now let's move on to my sinking fund section. Remember, sinking funds are like mini savings accounts where you're setting aside a little bit of money every month for a particular larger expense or maybe an unexpected expense that you don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but you know will happen at some point, and you might not exactly know how much it's going to cost, so you're just preparing ahead of time. And you can see here in this section, this is showing the allocations that I made towards my sinking funds in May, so the money that I put towards each category. What this does not show you is what I actually spent in these categories and what my final balances were. So let me switch over to a sinking fund summary to show you that. So my first sinking fund is my clothes/beauty sinking fund. This is pretty straightforward. It's just any clothing purchases, beauty, hair care, makeup, anything like that would fall under this category. And this has not been one of my top priorities throughout the beginning half of the year. But as I mentioned in my May budget with me, I was going to that wedding and I knew that I would be making purchases within this category during this month. So I was trying to beef this up a little bit before the month, and then I'll also be replenishing it a little bit after, as you see that I spent quite a bit. So I had originally budgeted to put $75 towards this category at the beginning of the month, and I actually did put that $75 in there, and then I ended up spending just about $300. So this includes a lot. I bought a huge haul of makeup at Ulta, and then I also bought quite a few dresses for the wedding because I wasn't sure exactly which ones would fit. So there is a chance that this will go down because I do plan to return some of those dresses that didn't fit. So it might not be this total $300, but still a significant amount of spending that I will have to account for. So we can see that my balance at the beginning of the month was already negative at about negative $80, and I'm ending at about a negative $300. So definitely a significant negative number here, but keep in mind that this account isn't like in a bank account by itself. All of the other sinking funds as well as my checking account buffer are all in the same account, so any negative accounts here are counteracted by the positives in the other accounts. And then moving on to my next category, which is my fun category, and this includes entertainment type purchases or anything of like a going out type nature would fall under this category. Again, this hasn't been a high priority for me, and it still really isn't. I tend to just put whatever is left after funding all of my other sinking funds into this category. So in May, that was $15, which I budgeted and then actually put into this category. I didn't end up spending anything, and this account again at the beginning of the month was also negative at a negative 42, and since I didn't spend anything, I just put that $15 in it. The ending balance was a negative 27. And then the next category is my holiday/gifts category. This is mainly my Christmas fund. So I want to have $600 by December to be able to spend on Christmas gifts, but this also includes like birthday gifts or any other gifts that I might need to purchase. And if I do purchase those, I will be sure to replenish this extra amount because I tend to just do $50 a month, which would get me to that $600 by December. So like I said, I budgeted $50. I actually put that $50 in there and didn't have any spending within this category. So I started the month at $108 and I ended at $158. And then the next category is my household category. This is not a very exciting one. Nothing has really been happening in this category throughout the entire year. But this is the category that I would use for just things around the house, decor, blankets, candles, anything like that would fall under this category. And again, not a high priority. So I didn't budget to put anything towards this category and didn't actually end up putting anything in there. So the beginning and ending balances were just zero. And then the next category is Nico's category, and this is just anything that I would need to purchase for Nico. His vet visits, his food, toys, grooming, anything like that would fall under this category. So of course this one is a higher priority because I need to make sure I have everything available to pay for his expenses. So I tend to do anywhere from like $75 to $85 in this category. And you can see I did even a little bit more than that in May because I knew some of his expenses were coming up all at once. I knew he had a vet visit coming up. I knew I needed to buy him some food. So I actually budgeted $100 in May. I actually put that $100 in there and then didn't end up spending anything. So the account started at a negative 21 and ended at 78. And then the next category is my car maintenance category, and this is just for any emergency or routine maintenance that I would need to do on my car. And at the beginning of the year, I had a decent buffer of $200 in here, and that has slowly dwindled over the past couple of months. I had to get an oil change, I had to renew my tags, and just a lot of things coming up, so I definitely have decreased that buffer, but we'll continue to replenish it over time. And right now I'm just doing the same $10 that I've always been doing, slowly replenishing that amount. And maybe once I get a couple of these other categories out of the negative, I'll speed up this rebuilding process a little bit. But right now, since the account in its entirety is still positive, I'm comfortable just doing its normal $10. So again, budgeted $10, actually put that $10 in there, and then spent $58. So this was the oil change that I got. So the account started at $135 and ended at $89. And then kind of similarly is my medical category. This is just kind of in case I needed to go to like urgent care or purchase a prescription or anything like that. I'm just building a buffer for those expenses when they do arise. So again, I'm budgeting just $10 in this category. I actually put that $10 in there and didn't end up spending anything. So the category started at $65 and ended at $75. And then another one that's not too exciting is my tech category. I've talked about this quite a bit, but originally this was an account that I put money in to save for in case I needed a new phone or a new computer or any technology thing like that. However, I did use this category to purchase my camera at the end of last year and made the account quite negative when I did that. So I used a little bit of my emergency fund to replenish the amount that I had took, and now I'm kind of just replenishing that amount that I took from my emergency fund. So throughout this year, anything that I put into this account will just go right back into my emergency fund. However, this again hasn't been a high priority because I've been funding other things. So again, I didn't put anything towards this in May, so the account balance was just $0 again. And finally, the last two are yearly bills, so bills that come out every year instead of every month. However, I do set aside for them every month, so when the larger expense comes out, I'm ready to go and have the money set aside. So the first one is Amazon Prime, and I just budget to put $10 towards this every month, and I actually did that in May. So I started with $79 in this account and ended with $89. And then the second one is just my Crunch renewal, and I do $5 a month for that. So I budgeted the $5, actually put the $5 in there, didn't spend anything because this just came out a couple months ago. So I started with $10 and ended with $15. So in total for my sinking funds, I budgeted to put $275 towards all my accounts in total, and I actually put that $275 towards them. I ended up spending $353. So there wasn't actually too much spending in like multiple different categories. It was really just the one category of clothes/beauty. So not too bad. Obviously that was a really large expense, but all in all, not too bad. So I started the month with $256 in all of my sinking funds as a whole, and I ended with $177. So then moving back to my budgeting template to close out the last few sections, the next one is my savings section, and there's only one line item here, and it's almost like a debt item. So this is my student loan fund, and the idea behind this is that it's a savings account where I will accumulate $10, $15, $20 that I have left over in any months, or that I budget to put towards them in any months, and accumulate all that money in this account and then use that money to make extra student loan payments. So we can see in May that I didn't budget to put anything towards this, and I didn't end up putting anything towards this at the end of the month. A lot of my priorities this month and probably for June, maybe even July, are going to be sinking funds. So extra money is going to be going towards there to get those accounts back into the positive and get buffers going again. So there might be a little bit of a lag in the progress towards this. But again, if I do have anything left over, if I'm able to bring in any extra additional income, this is the first place that it will go. And then my actual debt section, this just reflects my student loan minimum payment. So that's its normal $911.45 that comes out every month. And that finally brings us to the overview section. So again, we're doing a zero-based budget, meaning that every dollar that I had coming in went out to a particular purpose, whether that was an expense or a savings item or a sinking fund, whatever it may be, it went somewhere. So here's where we can check to make sure that all those dollars were accounted for, and we can see my green 0. So I know that I've accounted for every single one of my dollars, and we know that I did actually have about $9 left over when I was closing out this budget, and I put that towards my checking account cushion. So I gave those remaining $9 a job, and now we're all set, and we know that every dollar was accounted for. So that is it for my May budget recap. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. And if you did, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you can see more videos like this from me. Also, go over and follow me on Instagram so you can see content from me in between YouTube videos. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one.